Morgan, the feature writer for the Marriage Initiative. I'm delighted to introduce Julie Baumgardner to you. Julie currently serves as Senior Director of Marriage at the WinShape Foundation. She's responsible for all the ministry's marriage offerings, whether it be content for the website or the 50-plus marriage retreats and intensives held on the 27,000-acre Georgia campus that bring couples closer together and closer to God. Prior to joining WinShape in 2021, she served as CEO and president of First Things First, a position she held for more than 20 years. Julie was invited to testify in front of Congress about the benefits of a healthy marriage and also spoke at a Helping America's Youth Conference at the White House under President George W. Bush's administration. Julie served with the National Association for Relationship and Marriage Education and chaired its board from 2009 to 2020. A certified family life educator and certified crisis intervener, Julie has been married since 1989. Julie, thank you so much for being here.
It's my honor to be here. Thank you for asking.
Oh, well, let's get started with what inspired your journey. You've had an august career doing so many interesting and important things. How did you get started?
Well, it all began when my parents divorced. My father came in one evening when I was actually getting ready to leave for my freshman year in college. And he sat us all down and proceeded to say that he was leaving. What I actually didn't understand in that moment is that when he said he was leaving, he meant he was leaving all of us. My older brother, who had a lot of special needs and was 95% hearing impaired, and my younger sister, who was 5 years younger than me, he was leaving all of us. And as a daddy's girl, that was very devastating. I had already decided that I was going to major in psychology, but at this juncture, I was kind of jolted into a new reality, and I decided that I was going to not only get my degree in psychology, I would go to graduate school, become a counselor, and help families to not fall apart like my own did, because the pain was significant and long-lasting.
I bet I am sorry. I mean, even now, I can feel the sadness, and I'm sure that our marriage champions, that this is a story not unfamiliar to many of them.
Yes.
But God, what man meant, God has meant and allowed to work for good, and not just your life, but the life of so many. So tell us where you went from there. You were really inspired, and you did achieve the goals that you set for yourself.
I did get my master's. I went to work at a wilderness treatment center with adolescents for a period of time, and then at a psychiatric hospital, and actually ended up working at a Christian counseling center for a period of time. And then God took me on this amazing journey where I was in lots of places that I didn't understand why I was where I was, one of which was being a marketing director for a group of med-surg hospitals. But while I was there, I had helped to start an organization for Christian working women in 1995. And as part of that, there were several people that knew my heart for families, and they had gotten word that a group of businessmen in our community were starting a nonprofit dedicated to strengthening marriages and families, and that it was going to be prevention oriented, which really piqued my interest, because I just felt like I had seen so many couples who would come in for counseling and their marriages were actually perfectly good. They were just in a hard place, and they didn't really want to do the work in order to get out of the ditch, so to speak. And so I thought, gosh, if we have something that's prevention oriented that would actually catch people before they fell into the river and were drowning, that would be a very good thing. So I just told them, if you ever need someone, I'm very interested. And so they had already hired an executive director. So I was the second person that was hired as the associate director. And we basically ran with 3 goals: to reduce divorce and out of wedlock pregnancies, and to increase father involvement in the lives of their children. And we put framework around that and launched First Things First in 1997.
Wow. And you were there for 20 years.
23 years. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And
Yeah.
you wore more than 20 years and you wore a lot of hats. Can you tell us a little bit about the things that you did there?
Well, so as a fledgling nonprofit, when you start with nothing, you do everything.
Yes.
So we had to create a database, we had to fundraise, we had to go out and educate people. So many people. It's just interesting to watch over time because you're constantly educating, no matter when you start doing this marriage ministry work. But in 1997, so many people were convinced that marriage was passé, that nobody was interested in it. And the more we talked about it, the more people had questions and wanted to talk more about it. It was almost like we were giving them permission to have conversations around it and to understand that it's not just this 50-50 crapshoot or whether you can make it. It's an opportunity for you to learn skills and have information. And there are lots of things that work for you. I mean, if you graduated from college, if you are part of a faith community, if your parents didn't divorce, if your friends introduced you to the person that you're marrying, there's just so many things that actually reduce your chances of divorce that people don't know about. So we got to spend a lot of time giving people information that was helpful in their journey of wanting to have a healthy relationship and a healthy marriage.
And you wrote an article in the newspaper for years,
Yeah.
a column for years and years and years. And you even had a TV station, right? Julie B TV?
Yeah, on YouTube, yes.
I'm and now full circle. Here we are back on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yes, I love
I
it.
love it. But
Yeah.
I know one thing that you mentioned too was just changing, that people weren't confident that they had what it took and kind of changing the familiar things, the things that they said that they don't know what they don't know, and they just kind of
Right.
fall back on the bad patterns.
Yes. Well, and I think because they've heard so much in the culture, they second guess their ability to be a good judge of a marriage partner. They wonder if they actually have what it takes. Even for myself, I can remember my parents were married 24 and a half years. And so don't think that when we got to 24 years, I wasn't wondering, are we, I mean, I know we're okay, but are we going to be able to do this thing called marriage? And so I understand why people question if they have what it takes. And I think if you're trying to do it out of your flesh, I think if you're trying to do it alone, that it is risky because God did not create us to do things by ourselves. So we need to have people who are working with us, walking the journey with us. And when you love, it is risky, but I can't imagine my life without my husband. I'm so thankful that I was given the opportunity to take the risk, and it's been quite the adventure. We've had lots of ups and downs and challenges, but man, I mean, we can turn around and look at each other and say, we did that. We did that together and with people who were encouraging us and supporting us in the process.
Just like you do now. And that ghost of your parents' marriage past is
Yes.
in the past.
In the
And
past. Yes.
and you have
Yes.
passed and moved forward. Would
Yes.
you like to tell us a little bit about NARMI and what you did there during that time?
Well, it was a group effort with a number of people involved in the marriage movement that people would recognize who are listening to this. Dennis Stoika, Richard Albertson, Joni McKenzie, so many people who were really interested in adding to what Diane Soley, who is the marriage champion of all champions, started when she started Smart Marriages, Happy Families. We just wanted to kind of come alongside and do some additional things like webinars and be able to encourage people in addition to the Smart Marriages Conference. And then Diane made the decision to retire. And so we took up the mantle in terms of continuing to provide a marriage conference or summit. And so We began with a marriage summit and just continued to pour into people who were very interested in creating marriage initiatives or marriage ministries all over the nation and some internationally. And it has been incredible to see the creativity of people, the opportunity to collaborate, just the like-minded people across the country who are very interested in helping people to have strong marriages and strong families. And it just feels like, if we all linked arms, which that's what we were trying to do, if we did that, we would touch the world. And I believe that NARMI has done that, which is very cool.
Oh, well, and Marriage Champions, that just find an army. Look into it.
Yes.
Can't tell you a better testimonial of ways
Yes.
that you can, like you said, find like-minded peers and people that
Yes.
you can learn from, people who are a step
Yes.
ahead. And again, so
Mhm.
you can link arms and
Yes.
across the world.
Yes.
Well, there's somebody else who pretty much has taken the message of family flourishing across the world to it, Kathy. And
Yes.
that brings us to the WinShape Foundation, where you are now. So I would love to talk about that, maybe a little bit about how you got there and then what all you do there, because this is exciting. This is where you are now.
Yes. So Mr. Cathy started the foundation in 1984. He has always been interested in people having an education. And it just so happened that the president of Berry College, Gloria Chateau, asked Truett if he would be interested in coming up and looking at several buildings on the college campus, and might he have an interest in using them. Martha Berry was very interested in helping people with their head, heart, and hands. And Truett Cathy also had a very similar vision. And while he never met Martha Berry, it was just interesting that they would give him the opportunity to come to the campus. And he saw the buildings and thought this would be a great opportunity to further educate people who were working for him. So they were students at Berry and also had the opportunity to participate in the college program, which is a leadership and discipleship program. So that started in 1984. And then came WinShape Camps, which is the opportunity for children to come to camp for the summer. He did that with his kids, Bubba, Dan, and Trudy. So he started that as part of the WinShape Foundation, not just residential camps, but day camps across the nation. And then WinShape Homes, he felt very strongly that children deserve to grow up in a safe and stable home environment. And so for children who didn't have that, he started group homes. And there are currently 8 of them in Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. And then WinShape Teams came along, which is leadership development. WinShape Marriage started in 2003, and that's when I got connected to WinShape. I was invited to an event that included a number of other marriage champions. And when we got there, we asked, why are we here? And Bubba Cathy said, I just wanted you to come here for rest and to fellowship with each other. And we were like, we don't know how to do that.
Yeah, yes. We're busy. We're running the I got Jelly Bean TV.
Yeah, everybody. It wasn't just me. It was very funny. We were all just like, oh, wow, you want us to come here and just be? We're not quite sure we know how to do that. And from that, I went back to First Things First and just said, we need to start taking couples here. So we actually started taking couples to WinShape and doing retreats with them there. And one thing led to another through the initial meeting in 2003, where a group of us started bringing groups of marriage champions to WinShape annually to pour into each other, to be creative together, to collaborate. And that continued for a long time. In 2017, the Cathys asked if I would be willing to serve on the WinShape Foundation board. And so I agreed to do that. It was quite the honor to be able to walk alongside them as they continue to grow the ministries of the foundation. And then in 2020, they asked if I would consider stepping out of the board role and interviewing for the senior director of WinShape Marriage. So I felt like God was saying, you should do that. So I interviewed, and was asked if I would take the position, and took the position in January of 2021. And it's been just incredible to work with a very innovative team of people, to be able to create experiences that bring people into a place just away from the chaos of the world, where they would have the opportunity to reconnect with each other, to connect with the Lord, and to see what He has for them in a weekend experience or a week-long opportunity for rest and renewal and conversations that they haven't had a chance to have.
Yes. Well, and you have so many offerings. It's just such a big resource. But let's cast some vision. For the marriage champion listening, what does it look like? I mean, you mentioned the campus at Berry Campus, but if they closed their eyes, because everything is held there on the campus, right?
Yes, yes.
27,000 beautiful acres. But can we cast a vision a little bit about where they're going and then what they would find there before we jump into your plethora of offerings?
Sure. Well, when you enter the college campus, we actually bring you 3 miles to the back of campus. And I love that because the stretch of road that you drive down, we actually call it stretch, and there's nothing but trees. And you will see typically a lot of deer. And when I drove it for the very first time, I found myself just kind of exhaling. And I don't know, there was just a part of me that seemed to come alive, that had been shut down just due to busyness and chaos and lots of noise. It is very quiet. By the time you get to the back of campus, it's very quiet, it's serene and beautiful. The architecture is Normandy, France architecture, with spires pointing towards the heavens, really to point your focus towards the Lord. And so I often have people say to me, it is deafeningly quiet here. And I'm like, it is, isn't it amazing? So we don't have televisions, we don't have Wi-Fi. Our goal is to help you truly exhale and focus on what the Lord has for you in this experience. So we have worship, we have biblically rooted, research-informed content that we share with you. We have grace-based hospitality that is happening all around you, and experiential learning. Many of our retreats incorporate experiential learning. In fact, I would say most all of them incorporate it in some way, shape, or form. Some so much so that you're rarely inside. You're mostly outside doing experiences. So we're teaching through the process. Others, you will have a mix of, we're teaching you from the stage, then you're going and doing, and then we might teach you additionally and more experiential in the process. So a wide variety of experiences that incorporate what we refer to as the 5 elements of transformation. And we just believe it is the elements that open the door for the opportunity for transformation to take place in your marriage and in your relationship with the Lord.
Well, I looked at the calendar just to see what all, just in the month of December and January, which I would assume December would probably be even a lighter month, but at the breadth and depth of what is available. And so let's talk about some of your traditional offerings, and then let's talk about some of the new things, because you've got some really intriguing new ones there too.
Okay.
What would a marriage champion find if they wanted to direct someone there, or
they would find a wide variety of offerings that would speak to the different seasons of marriage people are in. And the reason for that is because we surveyed about 9,000 people, and we got back 2,000 completed surveys. And in the surveys, they told us the kinds of things that they really needed at this moment in time. And so we looked at all of that and then got down to creating content to speak to them. So if you look on our website, you would see courageous communication. You might see vision for your marriage, empty nest success, newlywed weekend, parents weekend, all retreats that people have said, these are the seasons that we're in, and this is where we'd like more information to help us on our journey of marriage. And all of them, we have a rule against boring. So we want to create fun, celebratory experiences that celebrate, hey, you have come far in your journey, and we're just going to meet you where you are and help you move forward. We also have some experiences called romantic adventures. We have romantic adventure challenge course, romantic adventure play with a purpose, and romantic adventure couples quest. For the couples quest, if you think Great American Race, but it's not a race, it's an opportunity for people to be out all over campus. And we actually have checkpoints. So you get to a checkpoint, and it might be something of a spiritual nature or a physical challenge or an emotional opportunity for you to connect. There might be some checkpoints where you can't do it by yourselves. You need to find other couples to accomplish the task with you. And that really speaks to, we're not meant to do marriage in isolation. And so we want you to find other couples that are willing to fellowship with you. Maybe they're ahead of you on the journey, and they're willing to walk alongside you and help you accomplish whatever the checkpoint is. So 51 checkpoints across campus. We do limit it to mountain campus because 27,000 acres is a bit much, but
You fall off a cliff or get lost.
what I crack up at is that people get highly competitive, and we have to remind them, hey, you're not going to get all 51 checkpoints, and this isn't a competition. The goal is for you to go to each checkpoint with your spouse and to have some pretty neat experiences together that are memorable. And so that's one. We also have a challenge course one where you will start out in the evening on Friday out on our challenge course, and you'll continue there on Saturday. And then we have an opportunity for you to receive some coordinates on Saturday evening and make it to a location for our Saturday evening experience. So we've just tried to mix things up a bit, not make it your usual and customary and predictable. We want you to come back. And so every experience is a bit different.
Well, that sounds like so much fun. You mentioned, some people do like to, sit and be more, but that to me, I was like, ooh, I was telling my husband, that sounds really fun to go find a checkpoint. And sometimes too, the leaders are people, from WinShape, but sometimes you have some of the best speakers. I know Jim Burns is coming for the empty nest.
Yes.
And some others just that can provide and just even bring that expert. And like you said, a lot of fun, a lot of, research informed, great expertise. So
Yes, we have Greg and Aaron Smalley, Jim Burns, Julie Slattery, Ted Cunningham, a wide variety of people. Yes.
And two marriage champions for the parents. I noticed some special times for different parents, maybe with special needs children, parents of adoptive families, really to provide some of that respite.
Yes. In fact, we just recently had an experience for couples who have children that they've fostered or adopted. And it truly is an opportunity for them to get away and breathe. I mean, on Saturday afternoon, we have free time, and we say, hey, if you need to go take a 3-hour nap, do it. You have full permission to do really what your soul needs this weekend in order to leave here on Sunday and feel like you have experienced rest and restoration.
And you have too, a new one for newlyweds, because you had mentioned, well, we had pre-married, but the pre-marrieds were saying, well, what now? And so that was one that came out of the survey, correct?
Yes, we started with a newlywed track, and we've continued to grow that. So in 2024, we have the newlywed weekend that will incorporate main stage speakers along with breakout sessions, along with experiential learning, and just opportunity for fellowship as well. So we continue to create and innovate around what people tell us they want experiences to look like that would be meaningful for them, that they would be able to take away what they learned and incorporate it into their daily lives.
Yes. And I love something you said. You weren't looking for perfect, just healthy.
No, right. We talk about that a lot. Yes.
Well, and sometimes the experience is just not enough. Sometimes, as our marriage champions,
Yes.
some people are at a difficult place for various reasons. Maybe there's been infidelity, maybe people are talking about divorce, maybe there's just, and you have the intensives for them as well. Let's talk about that, because there aren't very many places where you can get something, especially one that has been vetted and curated, by
Yes.
an organization as qualified as WinShape.
So we have two ministries that have come alongside us, Focus on the Family and Center for Relational Care. And they both provide intensives at WinShape. So we have intensives probably 48 weeks out of the year. And people will register through those two entities to come to intensives. They start on a Sunday evening and go through Thursday afternoon. And so if people are in crisis, we have those opportunities. And then we also have something that we have beta tested for the last year that we created called The Journey. And it is for couples who are not in crisis, but have a lot going on in their lives and need an opportunity, probably an objective third party, if you will, to help them have some missing conversations. So we have utilized Sue Johnson's emotionally focused therapy as the foundation for this experience. It also starts on a Sunday, ends Thursday at lunch, and it basically incorporates experiential learning, intentional play, date nights, and therapeutic sessions. So 4 couples, 2 therapists, and we're very excited about offering this. We feel like this is an area that really hasn't received a lot of attention, but I mean, I told my own husband, I feel like we'd be great candidates because we have a 92-year-old, a 91-year-old, and an 89-year-old in terms of parents. And then we have full careers and just a lot going on. And so the opportunity to go and focus on us and just maybe conversations we haven't had time to have. So people who are changing careers, moving, an infant, first-time parents, all of those people would be great candidates for The Journey.
Well, it really resonates when you talk about the people that are squeezed. And then
Exactly. It's a good way to put it.
There and elder, there's a lot, and I'm sure that many of our marriage champions will that's resonating, and they're thinking right now, type, Google The Journey. How do I get there? I know it sounds wonderful.
Yes.
You also curate all that content when they go to the website too. There's all sorts of blogs and information.
Yes. So we have an amazing WinShape Marriage team, and they are focused on curating content. Our marketing team guides the process by looking at what are people asking for, what kind of information do they need, and they'll give us that information. We'll either curate the content or create the content and then push it out in palatable bites so that people don't choke on the information, but we want them to come back and get more. So just enough to whet their appetite. They come back for more later.
And then they connect, because a lot of those speakers or writers are ones that would be at their retreats and at their experiences.
For sure. Yes.
They get to learn a little bit more about who they might be a favorite that they'd win.
Right. Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, well, you are one busy lady, Julie, and thank you so much for taking with us today.
Truly my pleasure. This has been wonderful. And I'm just excited for all the marriage champions out there. We are collectively, when we get together, it's incredible how God will use all of us to impact change around the world. So kudos to y'all for what you're doing.
You have the experience of knowing exactly what you're speaking. So we can trust that you know what you're talking about and be encouraged. So as always, marriage champions, if you'd like more information about Julie or WinShape, you can find us at marriageinitiative.org.